Hi everybody, welcome back. We left off last time. We went and set up our data context and our XAML and basically our TimerViewModel source code file. What we're going to do now before we go ahead and go any further is we're actually going to go ahead and add a new file, and basically this is going to be our relay command. So let's go ahead and just call it relay command. And I'm not going to type all this out and re-explain all this because I do that in another video. So there's no sense doubling my work here. But what I am going to do is let's go ahead and public, change it to public. I'm going to go ahead and copy the source code that I already have in my other file. And if you guys already done the other tutorial series, you'll already have this, and you can just recycle this file and not have to duplicate code. If not, I will leave the video up and running just so you can see it. You can pause it here, but that is the entire relay command class, and basically it is all set up, ready to go. So once you have it typed, go ahead and set. I will see you back here and we'll actually start our TimerViewModel. This is going to be the big wig of it all. It's going to take a little bit to go through the TimerViewModel, but I'll explain everything as I go along. So hopefully you get this done, and you got it done. Alright, here we go. Let's go into the meat of the program. So basically you see I have everything, we don't have anything broken out yet, but what I like to do is add regions. So with our DispatchTimer model, what we want to do is when we click start, the start button, we actually want it to go ahead, and it's already bound, it's going to come through, and basically we want it to run. Well, we have to set up the dispatch timer, so we're going to go ahead and do that with our constructor. So let's go ahead and set up a region. Call it constructor. So instead of typing the set a second time, just go ahead and copy and paste it. And now basically in here, all we're going to do is we're going to have a public. This is going to be our TimerViewModel. So whenever we set up our TimerViewModel, we're going to go ahead, let me find the right keys here. We are actually going to go ahead and have our dispatch timer set up. So as you can see, it doesn't exist, so it's going to underline it and say, hey, this does not exist in current context. So basically what we're going to have to do is build this. So, and this is a method. And so let's go ahead and make another nice little fuzzy region. And basically all our regions are going to be, so before we build the method, let me go ahead and just set up all our regions, because I like to keep things nice and organized. So we're going to have fields. And organization is key. I like to be organized, so bear with me here. You can set up your code however you want, but when it comes later on to huge projects, you're definitely going to want to have everything organized in at least some way so you can find it. A couple more regions here and we'll be done. And I'll go through all these regions. We're going to talk about everything. No, I don't want a space in there. So we just got two more regions, methods, and then the iNotify property change member. You can have spaces in here if you want. I just keep them together, either way, whatever works for you. But this is basically all the reason. I'm going to save this now. Save so we don't crash. So basically, I have all our regions set up. So dispatch timer setup is actually a method. So what we want to do is when TimerViewModel is actually built, it actually sets and runs this code automatically. So we're going to go to our dispatch timer setup, and we're actually going to set up that method so it sets up our timer for us. So we're going to go into methods and do this face. So this is going to be just a public void. Now it doesn't have to be public, it could just be void, it could be private. I'm just doing public. Now here, I'm actually typing it out again, but we could have just copied and pasted. Save ourselves some time. So now what we want to do is we're going to have a new event handler. So we're going to have a dispatch timer, and basically this is going to be a property. So before I get way ahead, let's go ahead and go into our properties region, and we're actually going to set up our dispatch timer, or our field. I'm sorry, our field. So what will you want to say, and this will keep growing as we go along. So this is going to be dispatch timer, the lowercase dispatch timer. So, and as you can see, it's not going to be added. So just right click. Dispatcher timer. There we go. So now we can right click and we can resolve it. We want to use threading because that's what it's using. So now our dispatch timer is up. So now we want lowercase here. Dispatch timer. It already automatically changed it on us. So let's go ahead and just copy and paste it. Now we can go ahead and set up our event handler. So we're gonna equal new dispatcher timer. Alright, and then what we're gonna do is we want to go ahead and register the event handler. So dispatch timer dot tick. So every time it ticks, and then we're gonna new event handler. Then we're gonna call it dispatch timer underscore tick. Dispatch timer. Oh, I hate it when it does that. I'm gonna call it tick. And then let's go ahead and we're going to set the interval. So dispatch. We'll just go here. Timer dot interval. And we're going to set the time span equal new time span. And then our parameter, we're going to have 0, 0. See, it's hours, minutes, seconds. We're just going to do seconds. We'll have it tick along in seconds. There we go. So now dispatch timer tick doesn't exist yet, but it will soon. So just hang in there for a second because it will definitely exist. So when the dispatch timer actually ticks, it's another method we're going to fire, and that tick is what's going to go ahead and we're going to set our time, minutes, seconds. We're going to go ahead and display our image, look at it. So every time it's going to cycle through checking to see if the condition's staying, adding a second to our timer. we're going to have a lot of fields we need to set up. So before we go any deeper, what I want to do is we're going to take a top-down approach, and we're actually going to set up our fields. Then we're going to go ahead and set up all our properties for the images. So hold on, here we go for a fun ride. So basically, we know we're going to need our timer tick seconds, minutes, and hours. We're going to need a date time to get the current date time. We're going to need a current image, and then we're going to need the current image object. So we're going to go ahead and set these fields up. So we'll have it be a private because we don't need to share it with anything. And it's going to be an unsigned int, and this is going to be our timer tick second. Once I can spell, it'll help. And let's just go ahead and we're going to set to 0 so we know what it is. And these will all be private. And you'll see a pattern start to merge. This is going to be timer tick. This will be minute. This is going to be our hour. You know, not that we'd run it for that long, but if you wanted to, you could. And now we're going to have two strings. So our first private string, this one's going to be our current date time. Then our other string is going to be the current image. And then we just have our one private object, which is our actually image itself. So, and by doing it as an object, you don't actually have to worry about size or what's in it, what's it contain, because you're passing the entire object. It's going to be the, once I spell again, you know, you don't have to manage it. I tried that a couple different ways. I tried to do it as a string, then I tried to do it as a bitmap. Object just worked. It fit. I was happy with it. I was happy with how it operated. So now our fields are done. So now what we're going to go on, we can go ahead and collapse it. And we're going to go on to our properties. Our properties is what we're going to go ahead and set and get values of everything. So it's going to be basically the public version of our fields. So basically a property makes sure that our private internal data of our fields is not changed unless we actually want it to. So it's basically our accessors. So let's go ahead and just build this from the top down. So, you know, public, we'll do a string first just because, and we'll call it current image. And then what we're going to do is we'll have our getter, and then we'll just have it return, and all it's going to return is our current. We just tab down current image. Oop. So let's be inside. I freaking screwed it up. There we go. And then we have our setter. So let's just go ahead and set it. Set it, forget it by Ronco. Alright, so, and basically all we're going to do is our current image. It's going to equal our value. And then on property change, which this isn't going to show up, but it will in a second once we set up all our happy stuff. So then we're just going to, and you can copy and paste the actual name or type it, whatever is best for you here. You know, I don't care what you do as long as it works for you. On property change, now we see it's not going to show up. And so basically what we need to do is our on property change needs to be set down here, and I notify property change members, which basically this goes along with your relay command. So I'm actually going to go ahead and copy and paste basically the code that I have for my relay command. So here it is. So we have our event of the on property change. So we're going to go ahead, right click on that. So that fixes that. There we go. So now all that's registered. Now if you'll notice, you go back up, on property change now exists. It exists down here, gets called, passes the property name through, you know, the arguments go through, and pow, we're done. So, and if you don't understand how this works, please go back to my other tutorial series. I'm going to keep reiterating that because I'm not going to explain it again in another video. We're going to keep going forward on our dispatch timer. So hopefully you're all still with me. I know it's a little jumping around, but it's just because of how this is set up. So let's go ahead and let's do the rest of our properties now. So there's not a ton of them, but there's a few. So let's go ahead and do our other string, which is going to be our current image. So public once again. Of course, it's a string. And we're just going to call it the same name, basically uppercase without the underscore. Current image. And then what we're going to go ahead and do, same thing with our get. Then we're going to return, then our current image. Now, if you already kind of know where I'm going with this, go ahead and just run with it. Oh, yeah, that's our getter. So now we'll do our setter. Oh, why is current image angry? Yeah, we'll figure it out here in a minute. So now we'll go ahead and see, now on property change shows up for us, makes it a lot easier. Let's go ahead and see why current image is angry. Current image. Look up in our fields. I don't see a reason, but I'll just go ahead and copy and paste it. Oh, because it's object. That's my bad. Welcome to programming late at night. It's an object, so it's mad because I wasn't passing a proper object. So that's my fault for overlooking it. So you can see how bugs get into your code real easy. So let's go ahead and we're going to go on to setting up our next property, which is our timer tick second. So, and then all these are going to be kind of similar. So if you're already ahead of me, keep on trucking. But I'll keep on moving here. So if you need to be spoon fed, that's okay. I'm here trying to make things easier. Hopefully you learn something, new, something I explained. You learn something new with this every day. So I just got a timer tick second. Now after this one, I'm gonna just copy and paste and change the names around. Sometimes I don't like doing it, just for the simple reason. Sometimes it's a pain right in the ass. Sometimes it just, you can't. The variables are angry because they're all set up to be something else, and I just kind of hate how it is. But for the most part, it's not too bad. But if you need to, whoop. See, I'm already getting ahead of myself. So timer tick second. Oh, okay. So now we'll go ahead and we'll copy and paste this one. And all we're going to do is basically call it minute. Biggest thing with copy and pasting is just double checking yourself, making sure that you don't forget anything, because if you left this minute and you left it as second, it would really screw it up. So, and then you got to make sure you change the name on your property, because it'll actually screw your property up too. So, you know, just something to remember for down the road. It can really wreak havoc on your program if you don't pay attention. I gotta copy and paste the minute one now, so we can do the hour. Alright, so now let's change everything to hour. And then change hour over here. Alright, so it's like hour, minute, second. Alright. So let's go ahead and save that. So that's another set of properties. And once you're done with the properties, if you want, go ahead and collapse them. We don't need to look at them. You know, we can just shrink them right down. Because we'll collapse the region when we're done. So, and then let me see. Our last property that we actually want to set up is our current date time. So let's go ahead and do that last property. So this will be public once again, and this will be our other string. This is where I was going before, driving down the wrong way. So current date time, and then what we're going to get it, and we're going to return. Oop, we don't want that. Current date time. And then what we're gonna go ahead and do is we're gonna set it. Now you'll see something here that I probably haven't done before. Let me go ahead and get that. We're actually gonna have an if in here. So basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna say if the value is not equal to current date time. So if the value is not equal to the current date time, we actually want to step in here and we actually want to set this. So current date time equals value, and it's just a good check to have. You know, keep it from screwing up. So if the value is not equal to the current date time, which it shouldn't be, it's going to pass in here and set the value. So now if they're both the same, so say it's 10:43 and it's still 10:43, we're not going to reset it. We don't want to go ahead and get the current date time again until it actually changes, which is going to change every second. So on the second, it should go ahead and update. So for whatever reason, if our program all of a sudden decides to take a big old heart attack and drop dead, at least it's not going to give us crap data back. So that's the last set of properties. So our properties are done, our fields are done. So let's go ahead and collapse those. We can collapse our constructor. We don't need that anymore. So now we're back into our methods. So we're going to leave our iCommand members alone for right now. That's kind of a longer topic to go on to. I'm going to try to keep this video a little bit shorter if I can, but we're getting close to where we're going to have something that's working. So now what we want to do is we're going to actually set up our other method for our dispatch timer. So basically we're going to do a private void, and this is a method or a function, depends on what school you're coming from. So, and we're going to say dispatch, once I spell right, timer. You can just copy and paste this, but it's going to be the tick. And basically what we're going to want in here is we're actually going to send an object. An object is a sender, and then we're going to actually have an event args, and the event args are just E. Now what we can go ahead and do, as you can see, it stops complaining. We have no more errors or warnings, and this is where we're going to set up everything for our dispatch timer. So basically we're going to have some local variables. So far I'm going to set up a minute. Basically we're going to say timer tick minute because it's a property, and we're going to have times 60 because a minute equals 60. Then we're going to say var time, and that's going to equal minute plus timer tick second. And then what we're going to want to do is go ahead and we're going to actually switch time. So we're going to have a switch statement. So basically whatever it is, we're actually going to switch on time. And it's done in seconds, so you're going to actually have to figure out, you know, what the time is that you have. So if it's, you know, 10 minutes, you know that's going to be 600. So the case will actually be 600. It won't actually be, you know, 10 or 20, because we're going to set up 3 cases here. We're going to set up our first case, copy and paste. So our first case is going to be 0. So if we're at 0, we're going to set our current image, and we're going to say this is our string image 1. So this is the text underneath our text box, so that's going to say image 1. So we'll see that, and then we're actually going to set the current image. So this is our object, and equal, and it's going to be a new, that'll actually be a bitmap image, and this is actually going to complain until we resolve it. And then it's going to be a new, we want a URI. And if you see something new in here, please go just look it up, you know, because I'm just going to kind of zip through. I'll try to get this done for you guys. And basically what you want, the whole string, it's going to be a pack. And there's just not enough time to talk about all this, so please go look up URIs and bitmap images if you need to. There's just too much info to go ahead and spit it out. And so basically this is going to be the path. So this will be WPF, which will be uppercase. That's the name of our solution. Then it's going to be a component. Now our images folder that we had. Don't need that. And then whatever the name of the image is, which we're going to set these images later. Find my G here. And then we're actually setting the URI kind, so that kind ahead of time here, and then we're going to set it to absolute because we're saying the absolute path. So it's going to complain that the image doesn't exist. So if it goes ahead and load it, it won't be. So basically we're going to resolve this. So I'm going to use media Windows imaging. So that's all set. And then basically all we want to do is break. Just standard switch statement, as you can see. Then what we can do is we're going to copy and paste this. And I have a couple more images. I have 2 more images. So we'll just go ahead and do 1, 2, and we're just going to change this so we can't have the same case. So we're going to say 10 seconds. In this case, will actually be 20 seconds. So when it first starts, it'll load this image. 20 seconds later, it's going to load image number 2. And image number 2, I call beach. So I have a sunset, a beach. So there's sunset. Yeah, bee watch. I have a beach. And then I've got a flowers image. So that'll. Alright, and this is image number 3. Alright, so that sets up our, we go save this. So our case is all set up now. So our switch is set, it's ready to rock. So now we just got to finish our upkeep. So basically we want to update our timer tick second. So let's go ahead and increment that. And then we actually want to be able to break it out. So if timer tick second modulo or modulus 60 is equal, this is equals to 0, then we want our timer tick second to equal 0, because now we've got 1 minute. And we're going to say timer tick minute. I'm going to increment our minute counter. And then this is going to be another if under minute. So basically it's a nested. The reason why we want it nested is because we're going to say if timer tick minute, and you might be able to move this, but this just worked for me this time. So I mean, I haven't refactored this code to make it any more efficient, so that'll be all up to you. So if the minute is equal to 0, then what we're going to have is timer tick minute is equal to 0, and then timer tick hour, we're going to go ahead and increment that. And basically that's it. So that's all our upkeep. Now the last thing that we got to do for our upkeep is if we do all these updates timer ticks, it's not going to update our UI at all. It's not going to make it back up there. So what we need to do is go ahead and set the second, minute, hour, and the current image. We want to actually call those all on property change notifications. That way everything's updated. You learn this the hard way like I did. If you miss updating a property, all of a sudden you don't see anything change. You'll spend a lot of time chasing your tail thinking you have something wrong, and all you didn't do was just call a property. So we'll go ahead, copy and paste, save ourselves some time here. So you're going to have 5 of these. 5. And we're going to actually, this will be minute, of course. Once again, just making sure you change everything. If you copy and paste, and then we're going to have our current image. Just go ahead and type this one all out. So, current image. This actually, we're going to kill this one. We don't need, I got 6 in there. This is actually going to be this dot current. We want date time. Current date time equals to date. And there's a lot of neat stuff if you start messing with date time. You know, it depends on how nutty you are. We're going to set it to now dot to string, and then we're going to tell it it's formatting. So it's going to be hours, minutes, seconds. That's done, and then all we want to do is update our current date time. And there we go. And that sets our property. So we want to point at this and go ahead and set it here. So that's all set. So that whole method is now done. So I know it's a lot to set up the dispatch timer, but it's actually going to run down through. So now what we want to go ahead and do, we have two other little methods, and these ones are a lot smaller. So we have our start timer and stop timer command execute, but those methods are actually called from our iCommand members. So let's go ahead and set up our iCommand members, which is only going to be two of them. So it's going to be the start timer command and the stop timer command. And I've talked about these in the previous tutorial. Once again, hop on my tutorial soapbox, go back and watch iCommand members and how they all work. But basically, we have the private part. It works just like a property, but it's just a command. So we have iCommand and start timer command, and because remember that's what we called it in our XAML, and we just gotta go ahead and resolve this. So Windows input, but if we go back to our XAML, remember our start button. So if we find our start button, we called it start timer command. So if you look here, I preceded it with the M, just it's a command. It's just what formatting options that I do. So this is basically the private locable command variable that we're saying this is our local private, so it can't get mutated by anything else. So, and then we want to go ahead and have a public. This is the public command. So as you can see, it's working just like a property, and this is going to be the name of our binding. So start timer command. So when you go ahead and click that start timer command, it's actually going to come into here, and we're going to get it. Basically, all we're going to say is if the M start timer command is equal to null, so as long as it hasn't been set, and then what we're going to go ahead and say is M start timer command equals, this is going to be a new relay command, so this is going to be our execute and can execute. And then the start timer command, this is just basically the name of the method that we want to go ahead and run. I had a question really recently on this, and I explained it. So if you go ahead and look at the video, you'll see where I answered the question. But as you can see, I like to call them, it's a command, so I like to say command execute because we're actually executing it. We're actually going to go ahead and run the method. So that's what we're doing here. So as you can see, it's going to be angry, it doesn't exist. Then we're going to return it once we're done. So M start timer command. Then we can set it, and that's as simple as the get. So it's M start timer command equals value, which I've never used this, but I've seen this done multiple ways, and I should look into this more on what the best use for the setter is. But you can remove it and it should still run, no problem. So now that's basically, I'm going to collapse this, collapse that, because this is going to be the start of another method. So let's go ahead and we'll just kind of set this method up a little bit. So, and it's going to be public. It could be private, whatever you want to do with it. So void, because we're not really returning anything. So, and then we can go ahead and just copy. Then it's going to do the same thing. We're just going to pass in an object, and it's a parameter. And you'll see it's going to resolve itself. It won't be angry anymore. Well, let's see. Why is it angry? Alright, so I kind of figured out where the mistake was. So right here, I forgot to inherit from iCommand in my relay command. and this is my fault. and you'll see you'll run into stuff like this where you miss something, but this is why, you know, once you create something, just reuse it. So we'll use into it here. That's an I command, so save it. We'll go back here, and you see our error is now gone, and it's just because we didn't inherit from the I command class. So small mistake, you find them, it's a bug, it worked its way in. We got rid of it, so now let's go ahead and finish this up. So we're gonna, you see everything's good here, so let's go ahead and we're gonna set up our other commands. So our private, once again, another I command. This one's gonna be this will be our stop timer command, lowercase of course. And then we're gonna go ahead and we'll have our public I command, and that'll be our stop timer command, which you saw from our binding. And then we'll have our getter and our setter. Now what we'll do, this is gonna be the same way. It'll be if this time it'll be stop timer command is equal to null. We could just copy and paste all this, but we'll just type it out. Stop timer command equals a new relay command. Then we're going to just give it the name of our method, and you know, stop timer, and just say command execute, because we know the command is executing. Let's just have it. You can name this anything you want. Stop timer, you just call it stop timer. I mean, you don't have to say command execute. It could be whatever you want to name it. You know, Yogi Bear runs down the street, whatever you want. I just like to keep things, like I said, in an organized fashion. So as I run through, I like to keep everything as neat as I can. Let's go ahead, we'll set it, and then it's just going to be the same thing. Stop timer command equals value. So let's go ahead and we're going to actually set up that method, which it'll be once I stop hitting extra buttons here. I know it's getting late because I'm getting real punchy. This will be a void also. Then we'll just copy and paste it. And then it's going to be the same thing. It's going to be we're going to pass in an object, and it'll be just parameter. You can name that whatever you wanted to, but parameter sounds nice. It flows. It tells you what it is. Alright, so let's go ahead and set up both these methods. We'll add some images, and we're ready to rock and roll. So in our start timer command, all we're going to do is say dispatch timer dot start. So when you click in the start button, it's actually going to start the dispatch timer, and it's going to run. It's already set up. We already set it up when we built the constructor. So the timer is already set up. We already ran that. Nothing happens though. It just goes ahead and registers everything. It goes ahead and, you know, registers the event handler and gets that all set up. And then basically, when you click the start button, it actually starts the timer, so it starts counting, and every time it's going through the intervals. Now when we stop the timer, we actually want to call dispatch timer dot stop. You see it's got tick, toString, interval. You can get different things, but we're just going to stop it. Call it stop method because we want to stop the timer. And then we're just going to reset our fields through using our properties. So timer tick second equals 0. You know, now you don't have to stop this here if you don't want to. And we want the uppercase. This is, gotta love our variables. And then we want our timer tick minute That's going to equal 0. So we're just resetting everything. And if you just wanted to remember, you don't have to do any of this. You know, just have it click start again, and it should pick up where it left off. You know, you might have to see what bugs arise doing that. Could be different bugs. And now you're going to see everything is built. So by doing that, we just reset everything when we click our stop button. That starts it, that stops it. So these are our commands, which we bound, start and stop commands. And then all the other binding is done through the properties. So timer tick hour, timer tick minute, timer tick second, we bound to the properties of our view model. So timer tick second, timer tick hour, timer tick minute, they're all bound. And by calling their on property change at the end of our dispatch timer tick, which is when the seconds change, this is what's updating our UI. And being two-way means this file communicates back to our XAML, and our XAML communicates back to our file, so it passes the data back and forth. I hope that makes sense. You know, if you follow along the whole video, it should. So I'm just going to go ahead and minimize everything here. You don't have to. I mean, we can go ahead, right click, outlining, collapse to definition. That looks nice and neat. So basically, now we need some images. We don't have any images in our folder. I actually have a folder open. These are the images I'm going to use. I'm going to copy them, and we're actually going to drill down to our solution folder. Don't pay attention to my desktop. There's too much crap on it. So I'm going to go to a timer folder, images. Let's go ahead and paste them in. We can go ahead and close this. Now what we can do is we can actually add existing items in our images folder. Change this to all files. Now add our images, and now our images are part of our solution. Beach, flowers, sunset, that's what I already have. So now let's go ahead and build this. Build solution. Build succeeded, no errors. Go ahead and start it. Builds. Okay, so we got our window here. Okay, let's go ahead and click start. And let's see, we got nothing, so let's look, see what happened. So general, cannot locate resource images sunset. Yada yada yada. So let's see why it can't locate it. Let's go ahead and stop it. So it's called WPF timer. Pack application. Alright, let me pause the video. Alright, so one thing I forgot to mention, in one of the reasons our images, so what we want to do is go ahead and clean the solution, because we added our images. But before we rebuild it, go ahead and have our TimerViewModel inherit iNotify property changed. Now, you might say, oh, why do I need the inherit iNotify property change? Well, we should have added that when we added our iNotify property change members. If not, it won't switch our properties at all, and nothing will update. So it'll look like nothing's happening because we don't have the iNotify property changed inherited into the TimerViewModel. So now let's go ahead and, so we clean the solution, rebuild it now that we've added iNotify property changed. So here's our window, so we hit start, and here we go, image 1. It's going to count up. It'll get to 10 seconds. It'll switch to image 2. There's image 2, our beach scene. Keep on counting. Once we get to 20 seconds, it'll stay on our sunset scene. Or our flowers, excuse me. So they're image 3. So that's all our binding working. Now it'll keep counting up. Once we get to 1 minute, it'll add a minute on, and seconds will go back to 0 because it's just going to keep on ticking. Now, and that's the entire class. You always want to clean your solution before you rebuild it, and that way it resets all the data. You know, you're not rebuilding over old data. You're starting fresh. But the biggest thing is making sure you inherit from iNotify property changed. So basically, that's what was giving us an error. So I was a little tired, so I didn't see it right away, and I looked up. I'm like, there it is. So I mean, it's troubleshooting. It's a bug. Any bug you create. So you see our minute changed, and it's just ticking away. So and then if we go ahead and hit stop, it'll go ahead and stop it, and then we can start it back up. And there we go. There's our reset. So I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. I know it's only 2 videos. This video is a little long, but I'll go ahead and I'll post it, and I hope you guys enjoy. Thanks for watching. Bye.